Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Leadership Talks for Emerging Leaders. Leadership Talks is a podcast hosted by Leadership Card, a leadership coaching training organization. It's the brainchild of four individuals, Kiran, Sandhu, Ashish Datta, Ram Ramakrishnan, and Divesh Mohan, who share a common vision to support 1 million emerging leaders in their growth journey to solve problems for self, others, and the organization. Leadership Card runs leadership programs for individual contributors and corporate clients. Our coaches collectively have over 100 years of experience and come from diverse fields such as academics, finance and operations, real estate, and sales. Every week on Leadership Talks, we invite leaders from varied fields and industries to share their stories and share tips and strategies which you can use to accelerate your personal and professional growth journey. My name is Kiran Sandhu. I'm a leadership communication coach and I'm hosting today's episode along with Mr. Ram Ramakrishnan. And today we'll be discussing building leadership in the corporate world. Over to you, Ram.
Thank you, Kiran. In today's episode, we are privileged to have Mr. Riitesh Panndya, Managing Director, Anomaa INC. He says, creating everlasting memories weaved in fabric. Ritesh, who has over 16 plus years of experience in building new businesses with leading brands. One of the brand is Scott. Many of you see in your t-shirt, it will be there. He possesses a solid track record for learning and motivating marketing and sales professional to achieve high levels of performance. He has an out of box he has an out of box thinker with an flair for charting and marketing and sales strategies, contributing towards enhancing business volume and growth in telecom and media industry. He has got a Facebook group which is called Normal is Boring with huge number of people follower, and he has done a lot more work. It is a networking forum for Indian businesses. He was actively participating during the COVID time as a COVID task force, helped more than 500 people in India. Uh, Thousands of people, help them through various things, and India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, on those time when everyone was having an oxygen problem. He actively was there in 24/7 and helped the people. And we are privileged to have you here, Ritesh.
Thank you for the amazing introduction. It feels good when you get a awesome welcome.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Yeah.
So, as we were talking about in our introduction, we as a leadership card is the leadership training, coaching, and mentoring organization, and we do this for the emerging leaders. From that point of view, I would like you to briefly talk about your professional journey. You have both the sides of professional as well as business. First, start with the professional journey. How is it?
So
What
I
is that?
started working in 2001. I got recruited directly from college, and my first job was at Spice Telecom, and I've worked. My corporate journey has always been in telecom. I worked with the large brands like Spice. Then from Spice, I moved to Hutch. Then I was in Airtel. Then I was with a telecom vendor by name Wi-Fi Networks. I was there with them for a long time. Then I moved out from there and I joined Safaricom in Kenya. I was based in Nairobi. Post which I was in Afghanistan with Roshan Telecom. So I was there for 4 years. So Roshan Telecom was a partnership between Vodafone and Aga Khan Foundation. They ran a telecom company there. So I was heading value-added services for them and the marketing team. Post which after my 4 year stint there, I moved back to India. And, then I had this, I always had an entrepreneurial bug. So I thought, let me try something on my own, and started a company called Trackify, which we designed. Since I was in telecom, we designed ID card for school kids. Which had a GPS chip in it, and the chip could back and forth send information, both voice and data, onto the mobile app which the parents would have. So parents could basically track their kids as to where they are, and the chip, the ID card had a panic button as well. If the child is in any sort of trouble, they press the panic button, and the parents get a notification as to where the child is. It is in trouble, and they could listen to the child as to what's happening around the child. So this was a very successful venture. Me and my partner, started this, and we ran it for 3 years, and then we, at a great valuation, we exited, and the company is still operational in the Middle East and African regions. Simultaneously, when I came back to India in 2012, 13, I also, joined with a childhood friend of mine who was already running a very successful apparel business. And I teamed up with him, and during my stint of Trackify, I had met with a lot of school owners and decision makers at schools. So, for us to the same product was there, apparel, uniforms, are school used in schools. So we used the same network to leverage on the uniform business as well. Once we exited Trackify, so now we work with around 350 schools, supplying manufacturing uniforms for them. And of course, we've been number one sellers on Amazon for a very long time in our category. That we're there, and corporate uniforms is our forte as well. So and we also white label for a lot of companies. In terms of large organizations. So even during pandemic, we white labeled masks for one of the top companies. I will not be able to name the companies because of the NDAs we have with them. We had ads all over television of that company making masks and apparel. Right from athleisure to any kind of yoga wear. We do a lot of yoga wear for top yoga companies around the world. So we are well known for that. So that's in brief about from 2001 till date what we're doing. So along with this, I also have invested in around 14 startups, and we also have a real estate company that I work with. So we help Indian real estate sell in the Middle East, North America, and Europe. So that's a budding organization. That's around 7 months old as of now.
Wow.
That's great. I think like all movies comes like part one, part two kind of a thing. We have to do many part to you to get full benefit of that from you. Even then constraint, time constraint. What I would ask is we have also people from corporate world, we have people from the enterprise world. Both this world is what we bring work with the people. So given that first is I wanted you to talk about some of the challenges as such. What is that in the corporate world you had, and how you could overcome those things during your tenure?
See, the biggest challenge I personally, when I look back to my 13 years of corporate stint that I had from 2001 to 2013. So the biggest challenge would be cultural differences. Because when you work in a large organization, you have people from all sorts of cultures who are there, all sorts of languages who are there. See, everybody has the knowledge. It is just that the cultural alignment has to be there. The company organizational culture is what matters. So now, if an organization is inclined towards a specific culture, and then it's not fun, right? Because other guys would be left out. They would be demotivated. So I personally feel in my existing organizations that I'm running at this point of time, we make sure that everybody is culturally aligned. We have a culture of our own, where
Right.
people say that, we worked with Anomaa, we worked with Riitesh. It was fun working with him because we learned a lot in return. So, end of it, if you're not, engaging with your team members or engaging with no matter who you are in the organization, you have to engage with everybody, people above you, people below you. So that is a challenge. A lot of people fail. I've known people who come from the top B schools in the world, who were not able to adapt to this cultural change once they get into an organization. So, I personally, I feel that's one of the greatest challenges. As long as, because knowledge, most of them would have, when you join an organization, you're scrutinized with your interviews and all of it. But then once you're in, is what it is. And other than the cultural challenges that are there, I worked in a war zone practically. So in Afghanistan, I was there at the peak of the war. So that was, in fact, it was great learning for me. To work and live with that small set of people who were there. Mentally, it was very exhausting and challenging because you are there. Once you enter Kabul, you're there for 4 months. You're not going to get out unless there's a medical emergency. You work with the same set of people, you stay with the same set of people, and wherever you go, you see people with guns, and you hear explosions every other day, you hear gunshots every night. And Kabul is a valley, so even if the gunshots happening like 10 kilometers away, they echo, and it's challenging. So, but then we overcame all those things over a period of time. We got used to it. So if there are 3 4 nights that go without gunshots, you would wonder that what's happening, where's everybody gone.
Wow.
That is
It's
amazing.
amazing. I'm loving this conversation, Ritesh. This absolutely the first guest was bringing in the guns to our show, right in the war-torn zone, in the midst of the war. You're talking about those were the challenges, and you talked about the learning also that how you just have to adapt with the people and make that ecosystem work for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I really like what you talked about the cultural alignment that that many people and many organizations don't have, and that results in the alienation of people in the organization. So that is probably another challenge that you've faced in the initial days, maybe with some organizations. Very, very, very exciting. I'm loving the Afghanistan, the whole look. It's a different story. I'm sure our
That is a very valid point. What he brought in as a culture, even people will change organization to organization. That is the time you need to give. Always there's a gestation period of you understanding before whatever the experience, knowledge, and things you bring in, expertise you bring in. Why we look at the successful people, one of the things is, yes, they understood what is the culture of the organization. Second thing is, if they wanted to bring in some changes, also working with a good change management, things are done properly. That is where
yeah.
things become
So
great. And as Ritesh was moving on, yeah, would you like to ask any
I
questions,
no,
Kiran?
I would ask this question. So you had briefly mentioned that the entrepreneurial bug hit you and you came back. So what really triggered you to leave your very stable corporate job and become an entrepreneur?
Well, I come from an entrepreneurial family. My father, my grandfather, my great grandfather, probably his great grandfathers. I can we have entrepreneurial history. I can go back till 1892. We have those documents at home as well. In my hometown in Gujarat. So we
Wow.
hail from this place called Aliabada, which is next to Jamnagar, 20 kilometers from Jamnagar. And I wasn't even aware of, the history, that, we've been entrepreneurs, for so many decades now.
Mhm.
So when I came back to India in 2013, and it was like after 20 years, I went to my hometown, and our ancestral home, we sold it to one of my dad's cousin. So when I went there, he's like, "I'll show you around," and I didn't even remember anything because I'd gone there as a child. There's a huge trunk there, and he said, "This is like ye khazana hai." He's like, I was like, "What khazana?" I said, like, I opened it, and they were like documents dating 1890. The address was from Porbandar, and those documents, it's all in Gujarati, and it was sent to the Maharaja of Morbi, accounting and all of it. So I couldn't understand much, but so that's my family goes back in terms of entrepreneurship, that many years. And we grew up, as we were growing up, we were always told that, you know, kitna bhi pad lo, you have to come back to the shop. And we're like, okay, so I honestly, I did not put a lot of effort in terms of gaining good marks. Our aim was to get only 35, which would take me to the next class. So,
Yeah.
but then still, we would manage to get 60-70%. That was a different story.
Yeah.
So, class 10, then dad is like, okay, are you going to join shop? Then it's like, my mom's like, no, no, let him study for some more time. I completed my graduation, and I was the only guy in the campus recruitment to get shortlisted. And then again, mom and dad both, mom's like, okay, let him work for some time and let's see, he'll get some experience from outside. It'll be good. So that 6 months, 6 months, it went on to like good 12, 13 years of corporate journey. Um, it would have continued for longer, but what happened was, when I was in Kabul, we were attacked by Taliban twice in 2 weeks. Once like April 15, 2012 office, and 2nd May 2012 is the expat compound that we lived in. So that mentally shook me up a little, and I had to come. I mean, then I came back to India. Then I said, okay, I'll work from home, and then I was not too keen on going back because I would get nightmares of incidents that happened. Luckily, I was surrounded by amazing people who made sure that we are all safe. The local Afghans took care of us, and our security team that was there, that took care of us. So I was, forced to come back to India. In a way, if I could put it. And then came back to India. Then, I had to start something new. As, I'd saved up a lot of money, so I could go without doing anything for like 5 years also. But that's not something that we'll all like want to do something every day, because that's how we've lived all our life. So, and since I was in telecom, and I'd worked on a similar product in telecom, which we launched in India, called Trackify, and it did really well, and it clicked, and we exited at a great valuation in 2017. So, and then parallelly in 2013, when I came back, I also joined hands with my childhood friend in the
Yes.
apparel business, and
Yes.
here we
Yeah.
are. Anomaa INC is like flourishing now, and we work with so many schools and colleges, factories, making uniforms for them, corporate uniforms, marathons. At any point of time, there's be somebody who'd have bought a Scott T-shirt
Absolutely.
online and worn it, or they would have
And
bought it from their corporate, if they're working for TCS, Infosys, any of these large companies, they would have worn a Scott T-shirt for sure.
I'm going to ask a follow-up question about this, actually,
Yes.
Ritesh, to you. When you're sharing about how you go back 4 fathers to get entrepreneurship, and you came back, and obviously there were certain incidents. But having our audience here listening to us, a lot of them are in the corporate, and we have a corporate mindset versus an entrepreneur's mindset. Would you be able to share, is there a difference, or we can actually just move forward and become an entrepreneur? Or is there a
No, I
need?
mean there is a lot of difference. There's a lot of difference. See, when you're in corporate, there are processes defined, right, for everything. You send an email. If there's certain things not happening in 24 hours, send a follow-up email, and you can rip people apart in corporate. Whereas, when I became an entrepreneur, when I came back to India, I'll give you an example. Uh, I started working with a recruitment company to recruit people. Again, he was a very close friend of mine itself, and we started working with a social media organization. Now, it was my first entrepreneurial, company. Uh, but then, at that point of time, we had few candidates lined up for interview, 2 or 3 of them, and they didn't turn up. And I called these guys, and I just ripped them off. I think, what the hell, you guys confirmed, and so you don't know those tiny things that it's not in their hands as well, right? Whereas if you're in corporate, you're like making, the other person is making sure that there's somebody coming for sure.
For sure.
And there are delays that are there, real-time delays. There are real-time reasons that are there for things getting delayed. So now that we are into manufacturing, I can relate to a lot of things that we where delays are associated. There's labor issues, there are compliance issues,
Uncertainty.
the
Uncertainty.
there's so much uncertainty and labor issues. If there's an election, the laborers are paid more money in an election rally than what they pay. So those 10 days, 50% of your workforce is not there. Those are unforeseen, circumstances. Whereas if you're in corporate, you'll say, okay, chal, ye vendor chhod dusra, leave this vendor, we'll take another vendor, things like that. But here, it's a totally different ball game. Your mindset has to be different. And there, you have a nice cushion of a Saturday, Sunday holiday when you're in your corporate job. Here, you're working 24/7. So, you can't keep your phone off at night. You can
Right.
get a call at 2 o'clock as well from somebody in the US who wants something, who's checked your website online, and you can't say that I'm sleeping and I'll give you a call back in the day. In corporate, you have the liberty of having a 30-day vacation.
Right.
Your 25, 30 days, your sick leaves, this, that, all of it. Here, you're working 365 days in a year, and
Right.
and also, the mindset what you need to when you're an entrepreneur. I've seen a lot of people who shift from corporate to entrepreneurship fail because they still think they are in corporate. They take the liberty of a weekend off. I don't answer phone, or calls from unknown numbers. I answer calls only from known numbers. So I've seen people failing miserably because of continuing the corporate attitude here once they become entrepreneurs. So it's a different mindset totally.
So you have to bring in the different mindset if you want to be successful to going into entrepreneurship. And obviously,
Absolutely.
Ram, over to you.
That's great. Yeah, I fully agree with you because here it is businesses, you have to be all the time awake and where the opportunity come, how you wanted to
Yeah.
do that. So you also talked about you had learned a lot of startups and businesses, very successful business you have done. This question leading, there are a lot of people currently also would be coming up looking at getting into business, establishing that. How important is for leaders to have a coach? One of the things is did you have coach mentor help in growth in your growth and leadership? Because I know already you have done landmark group, some kind of a big association courses and other thing. With that, I know you have constantly looked at doing that. That is the reason I thought of asking this question to you. How important is for leaders to have a coach or mentor for them? Yeah.
See, now there are, I would put it across this way. Now there are two, three different types of entrepreneurs who are there. One is somebody like me, who comes from an entrepreneurial background, family, and people around me are entrepreneurs. So from the time we grew up, breakfast, lunch, table, or dinner, or any family outings, friends outing with they're all talking about businesses and experiences. So honestly, I've never had a coach per se, but I've had a lot of mentors around me. My ex bosses who were there, who've been of great support, great learning. Even I go back to them even now if I'm stuck somewhere and. Things like they come reach out to me if they're stuck somewhere as well. That's the kind of rapport that we have, and situations, because see there are situations you need a mentor when you're in a tricky situation or when there's a catch-22 kind of situation who will basically give you guidance in terms of, okay, now this is the situation. A, B, C are the options. If you do A, this is the result you do. B, this is the result you do. C, this is the result. So basically that's a mentor's job from my point of view. So I've had such people around me, and I've been fortunate and lucky because probably of my relationship management skills that I have grown up with, along with my parents and Plus I had like a huge family. We're like 55 people now. Probably when I was growing up, we were 35, 40 of us. So it grows right within you that you have people around who are helping you, guiding you. And there'll be the second set of people who shift from your corporate to entrepreneurship. I would recommend that they should take a coach or they should have a mentor who would guide them, because it, like I mentioned earlier, it's a totally different ball game. Corporate job is totally different. Being an entrepreneur is totally different. Smallest of your mistakes could lead to your business going bust. So I would highly recommend people should have a coach slash mentor, um, and and I'm sure I don't say that I will never need a mentor or a coach in my life. As we are growing up, as we are scaling up, probably when we want to reach the $1 billion mark over the next 5, 8, 10 years maybe. So for us to get there, I'm sure we will need guidance and mentorship for reaching to that level. It's all about upskilling, right? If you don't up your game, you don't upskill. It's a continuous learning process.
Ritesh, I'm going to just say that probably your first coach was probably your dad or even your
Absolutely.
mom. Your mom, who kept on saying, pushing you outside the comfort zone and saying, no, do the next thing. So I think that when we talk about a coach, it's a very literal meaning that there is somebody, but in fact, there are a lot of mentors in our personal space also who inspire us, and we actually go out and speak to them, and a lot of people don't have them, and hence they need a coach.
Absolutely.
Yeah, why
I
I
mean, my
asked this
parents,
question?
Yeah, sorry,
my
yeah, go ahead.
parents, my parents have been, strong support in terms of entrepreneurship. Then, since 2006, I'm married. My wife is, super sharp lady as well. I mean, she's commerce, top three in Bangalore in terms of, in her batch. So she guides me in terms of finance and all of it. So I mean, like I said, I'm fortunate to have the right set of people in my life who guide me in terms of at every step. So
Yeah.
my parents, my wife, Simi. So we're like a good formidable team, and of course my partners were there. And one thing I would want all the entrepreneurs to know. I learned this very early in life that we are not here to do work. Entrepreneurs, I tell everybody, entrepreneurs, whoever is there, you're not here to do work. You need to build a team to do the work, and our job is to manage the team. I tell it again because another reason why entrepreneurs fail is they want to do everything.
Agreed. Agreed.
Because unless you delegate work, you will be doing work. As an entrepreneur, your job is to manage the team. Your job is to make sure you take the company to the next level. You have to make the strategy, and you need to have a team that implements the strategy. If you
Agree.
continue to do hiring, you do sales, you do marketing, you do digital marketing, you do finance, you will just keep doing work that is like you're doing like a work that is like 5 levels below an entrepreneur. An
Right.
entrepreneur's job is you're a strategist. You need to work having a broader vision, a larger vision.
Thank you so much, Ritesh. We have actually come nearly to the end of the show, which means we will take this as what was last message that Ritesh has said is stop doing everything and start delegating so that you can be creative, you can be innovative, you can strategize and you create visions. And you're not stuck in the day to day chores of just doing the mundane work. With that, I would like to say thank you to Ritesh for joining us today. Thank you to our viewers for being here, listening to this very exciting talk about wars, going in from different businesses, shifting this possible. So it's if you have the right mindset, it is possible to shift from being in the corporate to going into entrepreneurship. And with that, I would like to say thank you to everybody for another leader next week. Don't forget to join us. Same time, same place. This is Kiran, Ram, and Ritesh signing off. Thank you.